Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's been a minute, so I wanted to come on here and just say hi and see how you guys are doing. Um, God, where to start? Well, obviously, like always, almost like always, I have my camera sitting here. The Alexa's doing well. It has, I guess, since the last time I vlogged, I have many different configurations for this camera now. I have like a big studio configuration that's got an LCD monitor and the big studio matte box by Arri. And then I've got kind of a compact studio system, which is what this kind of is. And then I have a handheld system where you get rid of the arm extension for the viewfinder, and I've got the Arri hand grips that have the built-in start-stop trigger. I got an Arri clip-on matte box here. Everything kind of down the ecosystem now, except for the lens, is all Arri. I'm kind of become brand loyal to Arri. It's just the like, whether it's their cameras or their lights or their camera accessories, like just the level of like the build quality and the life expectancy that you can get out of stuff that Arri makes, I've really grown to love, because it's in a class completely different from every other camera manufacturer I've ever personally worked with. So, yeah. So the Alexa has actually been traveling with me. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was back home in Chicagoland, where I'm from, for about 8 days with my husband. I had to film a friend of mine's wedding in the city of Chicago on the Alexa. And obviously, because I had the camera with me, I got some shots just from my hotel room, and I made the video that is before this vlog. Just a little, I don't know, little art piece kind of showcasing, where I grew up, what I had. That's why it was called that. And me kind of like above the city looking down and kind of reflecting on what used to be my environment, but hasn't been my environment for, well, it'll be 8 years this month that I left Illinois. So, yeah. And then the other kind of cool thing, I guess, from a creative standpoint, is I made my first solid piece of art, little short film piece, whatever, with an iPhone. I've never really worked with cell phones in a creative space. I know that this is, I'm kind of late to the game on that. And I mean, iPhones have been used for filmmaking for a couple of years now, almost a decade, I think. But I thought, what the hell? I recently got the new iPhone, and was like, well, it's got all these capabilities to it that other iPhones didn't have and whatnot, and I should see what this is about. And the irony is that that video that I made, that little piece that I made, every single shot, I just used the kind of bullshit internal cinematic mode in my iPhone. I didn't even use anything professional like the Blackmagic camera app or the Final Cut camera app. Didn't shoot external SSD to get raw. Like everything, it was literally, I pulled a consumer move, I guess, where I shot everything. I wanted to see what the cinematic mode was capable of. And it actually, like, in all honesty, when you're moving really fast, it kind of surprised me a little bit, I think that if Apple allows the ability to do the kind of cinematic mode, and they kind of make it a little bit better in terms of making that pseudo shallow depth of field, or depth perception, whatever. But if you're able to shoot ProRes RAW within cinematic mode, and you're able to shoot in a log color space in cinematic mode, I think that would be pretty cool. I just didn't have the time to really kind of futz with the iPhone in like a professional setting. So I really wanted to kind of see, like, okay, like, I want to see what this is capable of for like someone where it's like all I'm doing is locking exposure and focus down, and the phone's taking care of everything else, and I'm able to just run with it. And the thing that really surprised me is, if you go back and watch that video, none of those shots were on a gimbal. My phone is sitting on a gimbal right now as I'm making this. It's sitting on a DJI gimbal right now. I own a little $50 gimbal for my phone, which I haven't really used much. All those shots though in that video that I made with the Boards of Canada track on my phone, that was just me holding it with one hand, like this, walking up and down the street or sitting in a car or whatever. The stabilization that's built into the iPhone is pretty fucking insane nowadays. So I'm starting to kind of experiment and play with the idea of making more art pieces with my cell phone, because I just think that's the world that, that is available to me. It's a tool that is in my pocket or on my desk, and I just have never really seen it as a tool to make art with. And I just think that I'm beginning to realize that that's really dumb of me to kind of hinder myself, just be like, well, if it's not a camera like this, then it's not, like the iPhone is just as justified of a tool to make something as my Alexa is, as my Sony EX1 that is just collecting dust on the floor is, as my DVX100, any camera. And so, I bought this little gimbal that it's sitting on. I bought a series of neutral density filters for the lenses for my iPhone. And I do have a little CF Express card reader that plugs into my camera to where I could shoot ProRes RAW. Haven't really done anything with any of that yet, but I have all the tools to actually use the potential, the maximum potential of what my phone can do in terms of the world of filmmaking and image acquisition and stuff. So I'm hopefully going to experiment with that a little bit more down the road here. So I guess keep an eye out for future iPhone work. And it's just so weird. To me, just being so old school and being in film as long as I have been, it's just really weird that you can actually get some decent looking stuff if you know what you're doing on a cell phone now. But that's the world we live in. So so Chicago was good. It was really nice being back in Chicago. My husband and I actually lucked out. Other than the day that we got there and then the day before we left back to come to Denver, the weather was beautiful. There was no humidity. It was 63, 65 degrees every day. I was in heaven. But I will be transparent with you guys. As much as, I don't know how much I've really spoken about this, but I've kind of been at ends living in Denver the entire time that I've been here. I'm not the biggest fan of the city of Denver. I'm not a big fan of, I've always seen the state of Colorado as a destination state. It's a place where you go on vacation. It's not necessarily a place that you live. Everybody's different, and obviously I've been here for 8 years, so a lot of this environment has rubbed off on me. And what I'm getting to is, for a long time I've thought that a lot of the inconsistencies and unhappiness that I have inside myself can be cured by just returning home, by going back to Chicagoland. And because regardless, there's no place in the world that makes me happier than the city of Chicago, period. The suburbs where I'm from is a different story. I'll never live in Naperville ever again. My time in Naperville is long done. I haven't lived in Naperville since 2014. I have no interest in living in Naperville ever again. Not saying that I'm not proud to be from Naperville, because I am, but no interest living in the western suburbs of Chicago ever again. City of Chicago is a different story. But okay, I'm rambling. I'm all over the place. What am I getting at? What I'm getting at is the 8 days that I spent in Chicago last month made me realize that I don't think that I'm actually ready to go home yet. I don't think that, I think that I need to experience more of my life outside of Chicago before I return to it. And in all honesty, again, this is all tentative. This is just talk between my husband and I. Nothing is set in stone. My husband and I have both realized that we don't know when our time in Colorado is going to end, but we know it's going to end. Colorado is not the anchor. It's not the permanent thing. We've always seen it as a stepping stone from one place to another. Now, we have begun talks about, not so much of when Colorado's going to end, but when it does end, what the fuck are we going to do next? And there have been talks about just immediately returning to the city of Chicago. There's also talks about possibly giving California a try. And now, when I say California, there's a lot of different places on the map that we would consider. That being Los Angeles, San Diego, and the Bay Area up by San Francisco. I don't know. This is all talk. There's nothing set in stone. But I am kind of in that worldview now with my husband that says, I think it would be better for us to go and give the state of California a chance whenever we do decide to pick up and leave Colorado than just automatically revert back to Chicago. Chicago has always been the end game for Nick and I. I know he wants to live in the city of Chicago again at some point when we're both ready to do so. I personally wouldn't mind living up in the North Shore. That's always been a dream of mine, of living up in like Winnetka or Lake Forest or Glencoe, like having a really, not a big house. I've never wanted a big house, but just kind of like a small bungalow house surrounded by a bunch of trees. Like that's always been a dream of mine, but he's always had aspirations to own a condo in the city of Chicago, which I honestly wouldn't mind either. So everything's kind of up in the air and all over the place. I mean, all things being equal, Nick and I just renewed our lease here in Denver, so we're here for another year. So I don't know. Like I don't know how many years we have left in us with Colorado. I don't know if our next move is going to be Illinois or California. I am kind of with my husband where I would like it to be California. I would like to try California before jumping back to Chicago. I mean, Chicago's not going anywhere. I'm still, Nick and I both are still fairly young. We're in our 30s. Like I'm in my mid 30s. I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30. Don't want to talk about that, but I still have time, and I feel like, I know what Chicago's capable of. I know what Chicago can give me. I know that whole tri-state area like the back of my hand. It's impossible for me to get lost over there. I'm more interested in the adventure of exploring new territory. And the state of California is beautiful, just like the state of Colorado is, but the state of California has more to offer than Colorado does, especially for a city metropolitan rat like me, So, yeah, I mean, who knows when it's going to happen, but that's kind of where I'm at, is that this trip was very cathartic for me because I got to see Chicago on my own time. I wasn't on anybody's schedule but my own. I was there for a little over a week. I got to see Naperville and interact with that. And I just realized that there is a quality of life to the entire Western region and Pacific Northwestern region, which I still have yet to explore, but I know enough about Seattle and Portland. There's something beyond, like everything west of the Midwest in the United States. The quality of life over here is better. I like, as much as I don't like Denver, I can't sit here and bullshit you guys and say that the Western region doesn't have a better quality of life, and the people all around just seem to be a little bit nicer. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Two truths can kind of exist here. That's kind of been a motto of mine, that two truths can exist within something, is that you can not like where you live, but you can also be aware of the fact that your mental health is actually better here and your overall quality of life is better here, even though it's not giving you what Chicago gave you, right? Like two things can exist. You can love where you're from, and you can also kind of accept the fact that whether it's Colorado or California or whatever, like there's just like I understand now why so many Midwesterners migrate west, whether it's Denver or Seattle or Los Angeles or San Francisco or New Mexico or whatever. Like there is just this tangible quality of life that I understand now. And you know, I just don't like, I will always love Chicago more than anything in the world. Anything in the world. But I also am starting to understand that like, it's okay that I'm not there right now. It's okay that Chicago, the city of Chicago is not my everyday. And I will move home eventually when the time is right to do so. When I am in the headspace and Nick and I are financially able to just like do that, when it feel like when it's meant to happen, when it's going to give us the most, you know, I don't know, whatever. I'm tired. I didn't sleep well last night. So I think that's it. I've had a couple freelance jobs here and there. I'm still working for my old company as a freelancer. That's all going well. The rabbits are doing good. My husband, like always, is traveling like a crazy person. He's only home like a day and a half or 2 days a week now, but they're getting near the end of this drug that he's a part of, like the clinical trial and all that stuff. And a lot of things I think are going to change for my husband and I in a positive way once all of this wraps up. I'm not going to get really into any of that right now, but things are good. Things are good. I had a good trip back home. It was very delightful. It was really great seeing some old friends back in Naperville for a day. You know, got some good food. And yeah, it's just, you know, like the rest of the country right now, it's really fucking hot here in Denver. We have, I know this has made national news. There's several major wildfires happening in the state of Colorado right now. None of them are really near me. The closest one is the Pueblo, Colorado fire, which is a couple hours south of me. But we're coming up to the 4th of July this weekend, and, you know, as morons do, they don't really abide by weather conditions or rules or whatever, and they get shit-faced and they still partake in firework activities. So I'm a little nervous on wildfires breaking out near me this weekend when people are being stupid and setting off fireworks and stuff, because I live relatively close to the front range of the mountains where wildfires can break out. I've had wildfires in the past be close enough to where it was raining ash, like I was in fucking Silent Hill, onto my patio of my apartment, that was a trip that happened 6 years ago. So yeah, it's still very much like wildfires can be a threat to Nick and I. I mean, we're pretty inland, closer to the kind of eastern plains of Colorado, but still like we're within distance to where if a major wildfire broke out just outside of the Denver metro, we would be affected in some capacity to it. So it's just nothing to fuck around with. Like I don't think with the conditions, the low humidity, the wind, and the high heat that we have in Colorado right now, there's no reason for anybody to fuck around with fireworks this weekend in this state. It's just not safe. It's not smart. You know, if you need to feel your fucking patriotic oats, you can go do it another way and be smart about it. That's just my opinion. So yeah, the last thing that I want to touch upon, and then I will stop vlogging and you guys can go about your shit. Which, by the way, like if you've made it this far into this vlog, I appreciate it. Always do. Like, always need to remind you guys that I'm grateful for each and every one of you. But yeah, so the last thing I want to touch upon is I am playing with the idea of sending my Alexa back to Erie in Burbank to finalize the upgrade. And I don't know if I touched upon this or not in previous vlogs. That's how shitty my memory is. But there were two things that were going to take place when the camera was originally in Burbank a couple months ago. They were going to do the XR module upgrade to allow me to do 3.2K ProRes and Arri RAW, which obviously that happened. So my Alexa is now an XR Alexa and not just an Alexa Classic. It's no longer a Classic, it's an XR. They were also going to do a sensor calibration and allow me to shoot 4x3 to get more area of the sensor. I would get the full height of my camera's sensor, and that, just because of time, didn't end up working out. And so I have reached out to Arri again to see what the time window would be and how much it would cost to send my camera back to Burbank again and finalize all of the upgrades so that I can shoot 4x3 and get more surface area, recording surface area of my sensor, which, as a nerd and a geek, like, I'm all about that. So once I hear back from Arri, I will figure out whether or not it's within my budget, whether I can do it or not, and either I'll send it out or I won't. But it's just something that I'm looking into. So if it does go through and it does happen, obviously I will make a vlog about it down the road and just be my little nerdy self. But I think that about wraps it up. So all of you guys here in America, be safe, be smart this weekend. Happy early 4th of July. I know America turns 250 this year. Woo. Kind of a shame, like, not to get political or anything, but it's kind of a shame that we have the administration that we do to celebrate 250 years in this country, because I think America deserves better. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. Hope I didn't piss any of you guys off, but in all honesty, if you guys support Trump, it's kind of weird that you're on my channel, right? Like, I'm a fucking openly bisexual Democratic artist. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. You guys have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.